everyone, and welcome back. I'm Rick Fussell and this is the Ingrain Workshop. In today's video we're going to be doing a woodworking project. Now occasionally while I'm out here in the workshop working diligently on a project, I'll get a text from the supervisor. Not one of those, "How's it going out there in the workshop, honey?" or "I love you, honey." Nothing, just a single picture like this one. But it's implied that I need to stop whatever I'm doing and build that project. So that's coming up next here at the Ingrain Workshop. So it was dealer's choice and the supervisor chose Curly Cherry for this project, so I'm going with Curly Cherry. The Curly Cherry has a nice grain pattern, as you can see here on the face of the wood, so it should make for a nice project. The first thing I'm going to have to do is plane both faces of the Curly Cherry, and I'm going to do that here at the planer. And then once I get the two faces milled up, then I'm going to go over to the table saw to mill up the edges of the Curly Cherry. The size of the board that I'm milling up is 4 inches wide by 7 feet long, and 7 feet is entirely too much for this project. I only need about 20 inches, so I'm going to just take and mark 20 inches here and then take it over to the miter saw and cut it off. That way I only have to mill up a 20-inch length of wood versus a 7-foot length of wood. Now with my piece cut down to a more manageable working length at 20 inches, I'm going to move over here to the table saw, and using my joiner jig, I'm going to take and join one edge of the piece. Next I'm going to take that joined edge and put it up against my table saw fence, and then I'm going to join the other edge, and at the same time I'm cutting this to a final width of 4 inches. That's going to be the width of my project, so I'm going to do it all at one time. While I'm still here at the table saw, I'm going to take my crosscut sled and just trim up one end of the board. That way I'll know that it's square. And then I'm going to take my stop and move it to 10 inches. And I'm going to cut the piece at 10 inches, and that's going to make up the bottom of the soap caddy. Next we have to cut the dovetails in the base of the soap caddy. And I've got a flush trim bit set at a depth of 1/2 inch, and then it's also set 2 inches away from the fence, and that's what I'm going to use to route the dovetails in the base of the unit. And again, when doing dovetails, it's easier to start with a flush trim bit and then put your dovetail bit in. Now I'm going to replace the straight bit with a dovetail bit and set it to a depth of 1/2 inch. I haven't moved my router table fence, and again the straight bit just helps dig out the majority of the material and helps with chipping. I'm also using some scrap wood to push the piece through the cut, and this will help with any potential tear out on the back side of the cut. Now with the dovetail grooves cut in the base of the caddy, I need to take and cut the dovetail tongues onto the legs. So you need to make sure that your router fence, if you're doing it at a router table, is 90 degrees with the router top. When you're cutting the tongues here on the legs, you want to take your time and just take a little bit off at a time. You want to make a pass on both sides. I'm using the extra 10-inch piece that I had left over because I know it's cut at exactly 4 inches, so the length will be perfect for the base of the caddy. And again, I'm just going to route on both sides, check the fit, and then bump out my fence a little bit and do another cut on both sides and check the fit, and keep doing that until I get the fit perfect. Back here at the table saw, I'm going to use my crosscut sled to cut the legs to a height of 2 inches. I have my stop set on my crosscut sled, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out both legs at the 2-inch height. Now I'm going to move over to my assembly table and just kind of dry fit and see how well the sliding dovetails are going in, and the legs seem to fit fine, but I'm not going to put them all the way in until I'm ready to glue them up. Next I need to route an 1/8 inch deep groove all the way in the soap caddy base which will allow for the soap dispensers to sit into. So I've got a 3/4 inch straight bit set at 1/4 of an inch away from my router fence. And then I've also got my stops set at 9.5 inches from the actual straight cut bit. And this is going to allow me to route a groove in the around the perimeter of the caddy base, which is going to leave a 1/4 inch lip all the way around it. And once I get the perimeter groove cut in the base on the long side, then I'll have to repeat the process for the width or the short side of the base, which is 4 inches. So for the short side, I've got my stops on my router fence set at 3¼ inches, and then I'll repeat the process. With the side perimeters now cut, I'll take and remove the stops from the router fence and just kind of freehand the rest of the cuts, just moving the fence out at 3/4 of an inch at a time. Now with a chamfer bit here at the router table, I'm going to route just an 1/8 inch chamfer around all the edges, kind of just to soften up the edges a little bit. Before I assemble everything, I'm going to just go ahead with the random orbital sander and sand all the pieces starting at 150 grit, and then I'll work my way up to about 225 grit. Now I'm going to start the assembly process. So I'm just going to add a little glue here to the sliding dovetail on the leg. Now you could use a water proof glue since this is going to be in a wet location, but I didn't since they're sliding dovetails. I don't think we're going to have any issues. Now the dovetail was a little tight, so I had to use some scrap wood just to knock it flush and then clean up any glue squeeze out that you might have, and then just repeat the process for the other leg. Now it's time to finish the piece, and I'm just going to use some high gloss lacquer. You could use pretty much any finish you'd like, but I just prefer the lacquer, and it'll probably help resist some of the water. Since this is going to be in a wet location, it shouldn't be getting that wet, but it will help with the water resistance. So there you have it. Happy supervisor, happy life. Well, that's going to wrap up this project. I hope this video helps you out, and if it did, then please leave it a like and a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you like DIY and woodworking projects, then I highly recommend that you smash that subscribe button. I'd also ask that you click on that bell icon. That way you'll be notified of all our upcoming videos. To all you existing subscribers out there, I really appreciate all the support you're giving this channel. I'm Rick with the Ingrain Workshop. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.